In this lesson, we're going to look at pointers um, for you when presenting the speech. We've looked at planning and structuring the speech, but now how to go about presenting. Um, in your presentation, you always need to remember the following things. So try and memorize these, think about them. You must most certainly establish rapport with the audience. Please, can you see that there is rapport with the audience? He's looking at the audience, he's smiling, and it looks as though he's speaking to them. Please be as natural as you possibly can and relax. Does this man look relaxed? I think so. You must use your voice effectively. Uh, Poise your stance. Some people stand in a ballet stance or in strange stances, but poise your stance so that you're relaxed and just on your feet. Um, Make sure that you pause for effect and that the pace of your speaking and the speaking rate gets varied and so forth, and it's not too overwhelming. Make sure that you maintain eye contact. I think this person is looking at some of those audience members and he is using his cue cards correctly. He's holding it chest high, etc. So think of these things. That is the picture that you want for presenting your speech. We're going to look at a few voice aspects because it's actually quite important. When you speak, the volume of your voice must not be too soft because then nobody's going to hear you. And it must also, please, not be too loud. Don't shout, please. Just fill the space. Project so that it fills the space. The people at the back can hear, but don't be too loud. Some people like to shout. And the volume must support the meaning. Sometimes you would like to say something softer to get a certain effect or louder to get a certain effect. It depends. So it must support what you're saying. The projection must always be to fill the space, not to overwhelm it or to be too soft. Your speaking rate is very important. Very often people speak too fast, way too fast. And then what happens is that the content gets lost because the audience doesn't have time to actually incorporate what you're trying to say. You rush from point to point, you speak too fast. Please try to slow down and especially pause between points. Pause regularly. The pause just gets the audience to just take in what you've said before you go on to the next point. So the audience needs time, but please remember that. Then about your vocal pitch, some people have this incessant high pitched chattering, and it really becomes terribly irritating. So don't have this high pitched chattering. Lower that, please, if you fall into that category, or if you have the low pitched drone, you're droning down here, it's also as irritating. You have to vary your pitch and make sure that the pitch also suits the meaning. Pitch is important, okay? And the voice tone is important. The the word that I'd like you to remember in terms of tone is that that you should converse with the audience. You're not like delivering the speech, and you're not speaking to the ceiling. Speak to the audience. Be natural, and make sure that what you are saying is important to you, and that through whatever you do, the voice that you're using, the pitch and everything, that you convey the importance of this point. So you converse, you don't deliver or you don't lecture them. Nobody wants to be delivered to or to be lectured to when it's supposed to be a speech that you're listening to. It's not the same genre, it's not the same thing. So please be natural, be friendly. Then Look at vocal vitality. Once again, when you're speaking, bring in some animation, bring in vitality, be dynamic, be expressive in what you say. Avoid, please, the bland, monotonous delivery. Have some life in your speaking and experiment with different ways of expression. Even if you are normally a monotone type of person, just experiment with a different kind of speaking so that you express yourself in a more lively way. Remember, by manipulating your voice, you can also manipulate your audience, right? And that's what you want to do. You want to get their attention. You want them to believe in what you're saying. So make use of voice manipulation when you speak to the audience. And then there's also the idea of articulation and enunciation. Right. Now, think for a moment. If you say a word and you're mumbling the word, and it's a difficult word, and it's an important word in your speech, but you mumble the word, did the audience hear the word? No. You're missing. They're missing an entire point that's actually important because they didn't get that word because you were mumbling. I like to say to learners, if you are over enunciating, in other words, you are really paying attention to your enunciation, in other words, saying the word so that it's clear and it comes across. If you think that you're over enunciating, you're doing it right. Don't under enunciate. Make sure that the person at the back of the hall can hear the word that you are saying. Be careful there. Don't mumble, please. And then, of course, we're all guilty of this. I'm guilty of this too. Avoid vocalizers like and ah in, okay, like, and so on. It is distracting. I know it's hard to get rid of, but it is something, if you want to become a skilled teacher, for you to perhaps work on to make sure that you cut that out of your speeches. Okay, make sure of audience involvement, please. Rhetoric is very important, and I'm going to run through these very quickly once again. Have you at least used, ask yourself, a few of these in your speech? Not too much of it. Your whole speech must not be devoted to rhetoric, because then, please, it's going to become unbearable to listen to. So a few rhetorical devices, but use them with care. We've talked about rhetorical question, repetition, we've talked about that. Have you perhaps included some inspirational quotes or something in your speech for the audience? Have you used emotive language? Did you try to at least build up to a climax? Did you use vivid images so that you can involve your people imaginatively? Did you challenge perhaps the audience? Given them a challenge, right? Because that's also involving the audience. Have you given a personal example or a humorous example? Did you direct an invitation to the audience? Did you change your pace? Did you change your audibility? Sometimes louder, softer. And what about the pace? Is that also varied? And are there dramatic pauses? I cannot overemphasize the importance of pauses. Pauses between your points. Very important. Then practicing and presenting. Before you obviously now go and deliver your speech, please practice your delivery in front of a mirror if you want to, but preferably in front of someone else that can criticize you. And as you're doing it, check pronunciation of different difficult words. Make sure that you pronounce them correctly. And practice to integrate your aids. Practice to have your cue cards here at the right place and in the right position with your right hand free. Practice making gestures while holding your cue cards. How are you going to flip your cue cards? Practice that. And if there's a picture that you need to show, how are you going to do that? Are you going to put the cue cards down? Are you going to have it reflected on a screen? What are you going to do? make sure that you practice your integrating skills. There's no point in getting there and delivering the speech and then everything goes haywire and everything distracts instead of promotes what you're trying to say. Practice your stance. Make sure that you stand with your feet cemented into the ground, but with the top of your body in a relaxed position, which leaves you the opportunity to use gestures and so on. Be very relaxed there, but your feet remains on the ground. Don't start kicking around and doing things like that. Make sure that you can use your cue cards properly, okay? And actually practice looking relaxed and friendly. If you don't know, go and look in the mirror and look friendly to yourself and practice until you get it right. Another few aspects to look at about the stance, I want to say a little bit more about that because people do strange things when they stand in front of an audience and then it becomes extremely distracting. You should stand straight, keep your legs and feet still. People like to sway from side to side. They like to kick their legs. They like to rock from heel to toe, backwards and forwards. They also sometimes stand, as I said, in a ballet stance. The strangest stances, they cross their legs. So just work on your stance, please. Avoid nervous gestures. Doing things with your legs and so actually is a sign of your being nervous. So don't cross your legs, bring them back, flip your fringe, or stare at the ceiling while you're waiting, lick your lips nervously, or put your hands in your pockets. Please keep your hands out of your pockets. So avoid those things. And this takes deliberate practice. You need to go and do it. Otherwise, you're going to do it in front of the audience. So deliberately think about it and practice it. And while you're waiting to start speaking, wait until the audience is quiet. If they're still talking and laughing, wait after the previous speaker or so. Wait till everybody's quiet and you have their full attention. And you are given the go-ahead by the adjudicator. Keep eye contact, please, with individual members of the audience. It's no good just staring into the audience. You have to stare into someone's eyes. You have to look at somebody specifically and then to another person, etc. Do that. Find places, people to look at. Be just as formal as the occasion demands from you. That depends on the actual instruction. Make sure that you pronounce and enunciate clearly and project your voice without shouting. These are all things that you must go and practice. It's easy to see this on paper or to know this, but for you to actually go and do it, you have to practice it. Practice in front of somebody or in front of a mirror or both. Make sure that you vary your pace and your tone according to the content. Main words, like keywords, can be said louder and slower. There's nothing wrong with saying an important word slower because it just puts emphasis on the word. Include your pauses, please, especially after certain points. And the gestures must also, just like all your aids and your cue cards, not distract but support. Don't just carry on like a windmill. The gesture must support. So if you're emphasizing a word and you're saying it softly or loudly or slower, you can have your gesture supporting, right? Certain things, please don't do. Don't go and read from, oh, I have the book here, so open the book, flip, and now you read from an article. No, it must all be integrated within your speech. Do not read your speech, please. And you fall into that trap usually when you write out the entire speech or you type it out and you stick it onto the cue cards instead of just having keywords. It's always easy for you to just be tempted to read instead of deliver, and you will lose a lot of marks doing that. This is a speech, it's not reading. I always tend to want to say, okay, what must I do now? Must I give you a reading mark or a speaking mark? I'm not sure which rubric to use because the one is not the other. if you find that what you're doing while you're speaking doesn't come out like you actually planned, or what you did in front of the mirror or in front of your friend, doesn't matter really. There's a little glitch here and there. Just handle it and don't make a big thing out of it, because what happens then is it gets exaggerated and it gets distracting. So just handle it. Just pretend it never happened, carry on, or handle it somehow. If you make a mistake, also handle it, fix it, and continue confidently. Use your cue cards and aid smoothly at the correct times. And then, as I said, hold your cue cards in the one hand, leaving the other hand free. We've said that before. So here we've got you again standing in front of your peers, being relaxed and thinking about all those things that we've mentioned. So the only thing that's left for me to say is don't be afraid. I know they say people are almost as afraid of making a speech as they are of dying. So, no, don't see it like that. See it as your moment in the sun. Practice properly and don't be shy. Make the most of it. Speak clearly and confidently. Be natural, be yourself, converse, and have your relaxed posture there. And enjoy your moment in the sun. Remember, you're not alone. Millions of people have made speeches and have felt insecure about it. And that is exactly why there is a certain saying which says, there are always 3 speeches for every one you actually gave. The one that you practiced, the one that you gave, and the one that you wish you gave.